On August the 12th, 2002, more than 312 millimetres of precipitation fell in the catchment area of the River Weißeritz. It was the heaviest rainfall in the Ore Mountains in living memory. Within a few short hours, the small river was transformed into a raging torrent. For the Klingenberg Reservoir, the day marked the greatest endurance test in its history. The volume of water clearly exceeded the storage capacity. The pre-dam was destroyed. Yet the dam itself, built around 100 years earlier to provide flood protection, hydroelectric power and drinking water, withstood the deluge. Later, however, considerable damage came to light to add to that already sustained over the course of the dam's long life. The engineers of the past had done a good job. Now it was up to the engineers of today to overhaul the ageing structure. The streams of the eastern Ore Mountains were always unpredictable. In summer, the millers in the valley struggled with low water. Then water levels would rise again after rainfall and flood houses and fields. At the end of the 19th century, demands for reservoirs to be built grew ever louder. These would store water for periods of drought while also protecting people from flooding. In June 1908, the architect Hans Pölzig drafted the first sketches for the Klingenberg Reservoir. The dam he planned was 310 metres long and 6 metres 20 wide. It was a gravity dam and would withstand the water pressure through the strength of its mass alone. In addition to providing flood protection, the reservoir's main task was to supply drinking water to the towns of Tharandt and Freital, and later also to Dresden, the capital of Saxony. Work began at Klingenberg in December 1908. The Royal Hydraulic Engineering Administration commissioned a film to be made about the building of the reservoir. First, a bypass tunnel was built to divert the water around the construction site. It was dangerous work. 2 men died in blasting operations. The mortar was produced on site. A quarry was opened specially, and the rock crushed in stone mills. In 1911, work began on the main dam. The total costs amounted to around 8 million Reichsmarks. More than 2,000 people worked on the construction. What the contractors really wanted was a simple structure that would do its job. Pölzig, however, gave the dam an identity of its own. The quarry stone wall, the work of a large number of stonemasons, was visibly overstated. Even a functional building should have an imposing design. That was Hans Pölzig's motto. Steam-powered bulldozers excavated the free-flow channel and prepared the impact basin and outlet. In 1914, the Klingenberg Reservoir was inaugurated and named Friedrich August Reservoir in honour of the last king of Saxony. It was finished at exactly the right time. The towns and factories needed more and more water. From the outset, Klingenberg supplied Tharandt and Freital by means of a waterworks and a high-pressure pipeline. But Dresden, which had over 1 million inhabitants in the 1920s, also wanted to benefit from Klingenberg. In 1926, a pipeline to the state capital was laid. In 2002, Klingenberg's old dam withstood the huge amounts of floodwater, but overhauling the reservoir was now given top priority. Hydraulic engineer Michael Humsch was appointed project supervisor. He was assisted by many experts from the State Reservoir Administration of Saxony.
Ja, die alte Talsperre The old reservoir was over 100 years old and wasn't able to fulfill the tasks of our times. The technology was no longer fit for purpose. It wasn't built for the floods that we have to expect today, which is why we had to completely overhaul the reservoir.
In preparation for the refurbishment, scientists from the Technical University of Aachen developed a geometric model at a scale of 1 to 30.
The model tests for the reservoir were carried out to find out exactly what happens in the spillway system of the reservoir when the flood passes through. This can also be calculated, but the results are far better and far more exact with model tests than with such calculations. And you're always on a safe side if you build the spillway system larger than necessary.
The plan for the next 8 years of construction was ambitious and would cost millions of euros. The old bypass tunnel became the bottom outlet, with the water flowing from here into the Weißeritz. The old bottom outlet was also converted. From here, the water now flows into the waterworks. The spillway system was completely modernised. The cascade was secured, the collecting channel extended, and a new flap gate installed. On the upstream face of the dam, the old intake tower and the crest were demolished. The original watertight wall was replaced by a new 4-layered sealed wall. The new intake tower was made larger and more efficient. The crest was restored to its original state. Also, an inspection gallery was blasted into the dam to allow better monitoring of the facility. Construction work began in 2005. First, a tunnel and a new pre-dam were built. Because the reservoir had to be drained later for the renovation work, the water flowed through this spillway tunnel during the construction period. In December 2005, a tunnel boring machine with a width of 4 metres and a length of 220 metres went into action. It cut through the earth parallel to the reservoir at a rate of up to 50 metres a day. Towards the end of the mountain, the work suffered an unexpected setback.
Right at the end, just before the tunnel boring machine was supposed to come out into daylight, the cutting head drove into a disused mine shaft. The water, already in there, flowed into the part of the tunnel that had been excavated. We had to stop all work and drive the tunnel boring machine back out again. We first explored the disused mine, then filled the old shaft with concrete. After several weeks' delay, we were able to continue excavation.
After 7 months, the tunnel boring machine emerged into daylight again, and a major stage of the project was completed. Afterwards, the tunnel was lined with concrete, which took about a year. Parallel to this, a new pre-dam was built. It is 4 metres higher than the old structure, which was destroyed during the floods in 2002, and provides much more storage volume. At the end of 2008, both the pre-dam and the spillway tunnel were finished. The tunnel officially went into operation on November the 27th. From this moment on, the water was channelled from the pre-dam through the tunnel to the outlet below the dam. Now the renovation work on the spillway system could begin. Over the following year, the old cascade with its border walls was demolished and the collecting channel extended. The walls were lined with natural stone. Finally, it was time for the main dam to be renovated. The reservoir had been drained by December 2009, as this was the only way to remove the old concrete from the dam wall so that it could be resealed. On the upstream face of the dam, 7,000 square metres of sealed wall were demolished within a year to remove the concrete that had developed many cracks over the past 100 years. The new watertight wall was made of 4 layers to ensure ideal protection. First a layer of concrete, then bitumen, hollow bricks, and finally reinforced concrete. Next, a new intake tower was built. From 6 different heights, water can be released from here to the waterworks. This tower is also accessible on foot. By the end of 2011, the dam was resealed. Now the water could once again be channeled directly from the pre-dam into the Klingenberg Reservoir. Within 5 months, the water gradually rose in the storage area. In spring 2012, the Klingenberg Reservoir was full. The newly refurbished old dam once again holds back 15 million cubic metres of water. The final year of the renovation work was marked mainly by intensive testing. A trial impoundment commission monitored and discussed the various re-impoundment stages.
Both building a new reservoir and refurbishing existing facilities, as we did here, always involve a trial impoundment. That means the reservoir is gradually refilled, and during this process everything is monitored and measurements are taken to see how the reservoir reacts at every stage.
How do the outlets function? How does the wall react to re-impoundment? Will it withstand the pressure? In the new inspection gallery, building surveillance measuring instruments help the experts to closely monitor the more than 300-metre-long dam at every point. At the same time, the dam was given a new lease of life. Stonemasons renewed the quarry stone wall and the crest was restored to its former beauty.
It was important that the whole appearance of the reservoir as an architectural monument wouldn't suffer as a result of the new work. This means for the external facility that a lot of the equipment and installations were placed underground so you don't see them. The work on the dam itself was carried out taking great care to preserve the original stones. Old stones were replaced with new ones that looked identical. Existing stones from the demolition had to be reused in the new construction. We took a variety of measures for the crest, which was completely demolished and rebuilt larger than it was before, but had to be true to the original. We marked the old stones so that they could be replaced in their original position after the refurbishment.
The total cost of the refurbishment was 85 million euros. The final tests have also shown that Klingenberg can once again withstand the river Weißeritz and the forces of nature. In an emergency, the reservoir can now release far more than 200 cubic metres of water per second. It offers secure protection against future floods, and most importantly of all, it guarantees best quality drinking water for Tarant, Freital and Dresden. Craftsmen from the past 2 centuries have left their mark here. Their knowledge and experience serve to safeguard the future. During the floods of June 2013, the reservoir passed its first big endurance test with distinction.
The waterworks in Dresden were mostly out of operation, so the entire drinking water supply for Dresden could be provided by the Klingenberg Reservoir. We had the big advantage that the floodwater flowing into the reservoir could be redirected through the spillway tunnel, which bypassed the reservoir. This meant that the body of water in the reservoir itself could be protected from higher levels of turbidity. So during the events of the flood, we had high quality water in the reservoir. In similar events in the past, this would have been inconceivable. We were able to open the upper level storage space, which were part of the flood protection system and which we'd also filled, and empty them via our new flap gate. That wasn't possible before when we had to release the water through the bottom outlets, which meant any good water we had ended up being lost with the rest. This time it was a completely different situation, and thanks to the new reservoir we were able to make a considerable contribution to supplying Dresden with water. Those 8 years were just a great time, seeing the project grow. First the demolition, then the reconstruction. It was really impressive. And that it's turned out to be so wonderful is something to be very proud of. And that will remain true for a long time. Whenever you pass by it and see it, you think it's just amazing. This construction will last another 100 years and successfully withstand the next flood.